Welcome in, folks, to another edition of the Cornhole Insider Podcast. This is a quick tip, and we're doing it via Zoom with ACL pro Blake Karnick, who is in college. Look at him go. Hey, Blake.
Doing something in my life. Doing good. How are you?
We're doing good. So we're going to share a quick trip. This is something, quick tip. Maybe we should get Quick Trip to sponsor it. A quick tip that we don't really need to be outside because we're talking about gripping the bag. We want to send a big thank you, though, Blake, out to a new sponsor that jumped on board with you, really helping to support your venture next year, right?
Yeah, John Blocko and Element Exteriors out of Stillwater, Minnesota. Great company. John's a great guy, and I'm really excited to represent their brand for my ACL rookie season.
All right, you'll see their logo on Blake's ACL Pro jersey. So check them out on Facebook. They do siding, roofing, gutters, all kinds of stuff. Give them some local support there. Thank you to him for supporting the effort. And you locked in your bag sponsor too, so that's exciting.
Yep, I am Team Ultra this year. Me and ACL Pro from last year, Steve Schrader, will be throwing together this year. So we'll be repping Ultra. I'll be repping Element Exteriors as well. This is going to be a really fun season.
All right, and we can get you some. The bags are in the mail. We can have you stop using those ones that have been through three. I don't know.
These are my babies. I actually just put these in the wash a couple days ago. I didn't tell you that, but I put them in the wash and they're all clean now. So they're playing as well as they ever have.
And they still go in the hole, huh?
Oh, they butter in like nobody's business.
All right. I'm Joel Karnick, and that is Blake Karnick. And we're going to give you some tips, or talk anyway, about gripping the bag today. Now, there's no right or wrong with this, but Blake, when I practice, especially recently, I think it's important for folks to have it in their brain to know what's happening when they throw the bag and why it's going flat and why it's not going flat. Because if they don't fully understand that, I think they're just kind of flinging the bag and hoping it goes straight. I think there has to be some kind of an understanding of what you need to do gripping and releasing the bag to make it flat, right?
Yeah, you got to kind of study the game a little bit. I mean, when I've experimented with my grip, I've looked at a bunch of people's grips, both high level pros and even like local people, to understand like why their bag is performing a specific way. So being able to know why the bag is doing what it is going to help make your throw as consistent as possible. And that's what we preach all the time, is consistency.
I think one thing that you see, Blake, with a lot of pros is that deeper grip on the bag. And again, it's not consistent across the board. Not everybody has to do it, but they don't butterfly that bag. But I think a lot of players, especially at that good rotation, are really getting their, not like having the bag here. They're really getting in and getting a full handful of resin, right?
Yeah, the most common term I've heard for that is kind of like creating a handle on the bag. So like my grip, I'm kind of creating a handle on that bottom part, just so you have more control over the bag. If you're just laying it in your hand and just throwing it kind of flat fingered like that, it's going to either move around, or you're not going to get as good of rotation as if you're getting a handle on that bag, like you said.
And there are players that do that with repetition, they can find a way to do it. But I think that deep grip too, Blake, with the fingers, with the 1, 2, 3, with these fingers, getting that deeper grip on the bag, you've told me, leads to more rotation, right?
More rotation and a tighter rotation as well, especially if you can keep all your fingers just kind of synchronized as you're releasing the bag. And it definitely helps with your spin and consistency.
And everybody has something from their history, whether it be bowling or softball or whatever it may be, that leads them maybe to release a certain way. For me, my biggest nemesis is this little guy right here, my pinky. My pinky finger, when I throw, likes to come up like this and cause my bag to tilt up like that. And I really have to focus when I practice, especially, that I'm not letting those two fingers there kind of dangle. And because when you release the bag, if those two fingers are dangling and they're doing weird things with the bag, I think you're going to get an inconsistent rotation, right?
Yeah, if your fingers are kind of moving, whether it's during your backswing or even like if it's just not synchronized during your release, it's going to make the bag do funny things, like yours comes in a little sideways if you're doing that. For me, I kind of have the most trouble with my index finger. I don't know if it's because I broke it in baseball during freshman year. It's just how I am, but I just tend to, like, when I release, I tend to just grip a little tighter with that finger than everything else sometimes. And it causes my bag just to be a little different once in a while. But I mean, I've gotten better at that, and I've adjusted my grip so it's not that much of a factor.
Yeah. So try that out. Try out that deep grip, deep and maybe a little, just not death gripping the bag, but
No.
get a good firm grip on that bag. And I think it's very important, Blake, that people, we talked about on our practicing video, practicing alone, throw down and back a couple of times with your grip high, with it in the middle, with it low, with it deep, and just see what the bag does, how it reacts differently. And I think that will give people up here an understanding of, oh, that's why the bag does what it does, because it's just, I'm handling it a different way, right?
I do that all the time, and especially when I'm by myself, just kind of adjusting, like, oh, what if I position my thumb a little higher, a little lower? Oh, I'm just experimenting a lot. I mean, even the last couple of days, I've kind of decided for, like, my thumb, for example, I used to just kind of put it like right in the middle. I've been experimenting with putting it a little higher, and I've noticed that gives it more control in my hand, and it just shoots out a little more natural. So
Yep.
just experimenting a little bit, whatever it is, just make it constructive. Don't just like goof around and just say like, oh, fancy trick shot, and just make minor adjustments. I think that's really useful if you want to continue improving your game.
And there are some people that put that pointer finger up top too. We've seen that before. They got kind of that circle change thing going on.
Yeah, I've kind of noticed that too. It works for some people. I mean, in practice the last couple of days, I've kind of been finding my rotation for that kind of reverse cut shot. I kind of got the feel for it a little bit. I don't throw it much. I've been trying to experiment with it, but like I said, just minor adjustments, and you'll just find like, oh, maybe that's why X is happening, or that's why Y is happening. So it's important to just have a little bit of experiments and to do it by yourself.
Yeah, goof around with it, find something that feels comfortable. Some people have physical limitations, bad shoulder and stuff like that. Find something that feels good, keep repetition, and but don't be afraid to experiment. And like I said at the beginning, Blake, for me, it's very important to understand, okay, my bag is coming in this way. Why is it coming in that way? You can videotape yourself or whatever and get an understanding. I know why it's coming in that way. Maybe I'm too old to fix it now. I'm not sure, but
You're never old enough. You're never too old for experimenting. And
yeah, so try it out, folks. I encourage you, if you don't have a flat bag and you want to, get a good deep grip on that bag, and get that handle Blake talks about. Get a lot of those beads in your hand. I was watching Mark Richards at the Clash throw, and he likes to get that bag straight up.
To like this kind of, he puts everything in his hand. I think he grips more towards the lower side, which is good for him. And his delivery is so simple and smooth. Another thing I can add about kind of experimenting is it helps you get out of a slump a little bit also sometimes, because everyone's going to have their ups and downs. So if you're getting in those stretches where nothing feels comfortable, just keep making those like little minor, like just experiments and just see what works. Because I've changed my throw a number of times, and ultimately it just comes down to rhythm. There's not one set way that's right to throw a bag.
Yeah, Major League Baseball hitters adjust their swings a lot. Pro golfers do it. It's always those little things.
And a lot of it's not even that noticeable. Like, it's not like big changes. It's just like, oh, I might drive my hip a little down this way, or I might position my foot a little different. Just those minor tweaks.
Yep. So try the deep grip once. Try the deep grip and see if you can get that bag out of your hand and get a good handle on it, and see if that changes your rotation a little bit. Nothing we say, of course, is written in stone. It's a crazy game, Blake. Everybody kind of has their own little twist and ways that they throw. So just try it out, though. You got to be willing to step outside the box a little bit and try other things to see if it works for you.
Keep experimenting and keep trying to construct your throw. Just, you can always improve.
All right, Blake. Good to see you. Go back to class now and learn something. Okay.
Good to see you too. Keep practicing, Pops.
All right. We'll talk to you again soon with another edition of our Cornhole podcast, video podcast right here. Thanks again to those guys for jumping on board and helping out Blake this year and all his travels. So be sure to hit subscribe. We'll talk to you guys later. See you, Blake.
See ya.